The workshop has gone well. 3 hours of frameworks, message hierarchies, voice of customer research, and conversion principles. The head of marketing calls it the best training day in 3 years. Everyone agrees. 6 weeks later, nothing has changed. The program pages look exactly the same. The email nurture sequence has the same subject lines. The paid social ads still lead with ranking. The landing page that bounced 61% of its visitors is still live, unchanged. The frameworks were understood. The desire to change was genuine. What was absent was a system. This is Chapter 8, the chapter that determines whether everything from the previous 7 episodes stays as interesting ideas or actually become the default output of a marketing function. Before we get into it, links to the full book are in the description. Let's go. W. Edwards Denning, whose work on quality management reshaped manufacturing and knowledge work, put it simply, a bad system will beat a good person every time. That's the workshop problem. The individuals were capable. The frameworks were understood. But they returned to a system not designed to accommodate what they had just learned. Systems default to their prior state unless deliberately redesigned. Add consistency bias, the human tendency to continue doing things the way they've always been done, especially under deadline pressure, and you have a near guarantee that insight without a system produces nothing durable. The framework for this chapter is the Higher Education Copy Production System, a 6-stage workflow that translates the frameworks from Chapter 1 through 7 into a repeatable process. Stage 1 is the strategic brief. Not a creative brief, a behavioral brief. 7 mandatory sections: audience definition, voice of customer language reference, message hierarchy, framework selection, evidence requirements, compliance checklist, and success metric. Completed before a single word of copy is written. A well-completed brief produces better copy in less time with fewer revision cycles. Here's what separates a behavioral brief from a typical creative brief. A typical brief says target audience, international postgraduate students. Tone, aspirational but grounded. Deadline, Friday. A behavioral brief says Nigerian applicants, age 24 to 30, engineering background, targeting an MSc in the UK, considering Germany as an alternative. Dominant fear, will this qualification be recognized when I return home? Primary aspiration, transition to a strategic leadership role within 5 years. 3 voice of customer phrases to incorporate. Worth it back home. My parents need to see the numbers. I don't want to waste 2 years. Tier 1 message. The credentialed Nigerian engineering firms already know. That level of specificity is what separates briefs that produce good copy from briefs that produce just a copy. Stage 2 is research activation. The brief gets populated with live data, voice of customer language from your research library, and message hierarchy decisions. If neither exists yet for this audience, a rapid 2 to 3 hour research sprint, forum review, admissions inquiry data, 1 student interview provides enough to proceed. Stage 3 is the structural draft. Not polished copy, a framework sequence structure where each section is labeled with its function and connected to the next with a transition note. This separates the structural problem from the language problem. Solving both simultaneously is the most common cause of slow and difficult copywriting. Write the architecture first. Define the language second. Never both at once. Stage 4 is language refinement. 3 quality criteria. VOC fidelity. Does the copy use the audience's actual language or institutional vocabulary? Framework integrity. Does each stage genuinely fulfill its function? And forward pull. Read the draft aloud. Every moment of hesitation marks a sentence that needs revision. If you stumble reading it, the reader will stop reading it. This test takes 5 minutes and catches more problems than any written review. Stage 5 is compliance review, conducted by someone who did not write the copy. 5 checks. Every specific claim is verified against a current source. No claim implies a guarantee. Urgency language is factually accurate. Emotional framing is proportionate to genuine stakes. And the copy is consistent with all other live assets for the same audience. The writer's proximity to the asset makes them the least reliable evaluator of it. This stage requires a second pair of eyes, always. Stage 6 is performance tracking, the most frequently missing stage. It closes the loop between production and optimization, connects the brief success metric to the conversion testing methodology from episode 6, and makes the system self-improving over time. Without this stage, you produce better copy but never know by how much, and never accumulate the institutional knowledge that compounds into a genuine competitive advantage over successive recruitment cycles. The system adapts to your context. Large teams need quality gates at each stage transition, formal checkpoints that prevent structural drafts from advancing before message hierarchy is confirmed, or copy from publishing before compliance review is complete. Small teams compress the 6 stages into 3 decision points: the brief, a 10-minute structural self-check, and a 5-point compliance tick list before publication. This adds 45 minutes to any production process and consistently returns more in reduced revision cycles than it costs. For freelancers, this system is a service differentiator. Arriving with structured behavioral methodology and a growing VOC language library is qualitatively different from arriving with a portfolio. The system is the offering. One final component: the copy governance framework. The most consistent quality failure in higher education marketing is message inconsistency across channels. The paid social ad leads with one tier 1 message. The landing page leads with a different one. The email introduces a third. System 1 reading all 3 registers. No coherent story, no trust. The fix is a master message document specifying tier 1 through tier 5 messages for each major audience segment applied across every channel. With it, every touchpoint reinforces the same core message in channel appropriate language. Trust compounds with every exposure instead of fragmenting across it. That's part 1 of this series complete. 8 chapters, 1 integrated system. The frameworks only compound in value when they are embedded in a production process that runs reliably, not just on good days when someone remembers to apply them. The full chapter, including the complete brief template, the 6-stage workflow diagram, compliance checklist, and implementation exercises, are in the book. Link is in the description.